Hi guys, welcome back again to Lunch Guide. I'll be your host and chef, Sheena Amario. I'm so thankful for you guys to have tuned in. You know, here we're always happy to have you guys tune in, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have the show. So thank you so much for tuning into the show. Today we're going to be making an Indian chapati wrap. It's just a regular chapati wrap, but since I'm going to be adding some spices into it, I'm calling it an Indian chapati wrap because I'm adding cumin and turmeric. So I'm just elevating our regular chapati wrap, the one for home, to just a little bit, an extra notch. So the ingredients we're going to be using are really simple things you can find at home, in the supermarket. So don't be afraid to go out there and just try adding something extra to your chapatis. So we're going to be using some sugar, as well as some salt, as well as some black pepper, as well as some cumin, some oil, some tomatoes, some flour, and this is just the same flour. And then we're going to be using some lettuce, and then we're going to be using some water, some turmeric, onions, eggs, and of course some extra oil. And then the things we're going to be using for this, the tools, is just your rolling pin, because you need it. You need to roll your chapati. Yeah, work those muscles. Yes, so those are the main things we're going to be using, and of course your knife, spoons, whatnot. Yes. So after this, we'll be going for a short break for you guys. You can get your things together, then you can come back in and you'll join me, and we'll have a nice time in the kitchen. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, I'm your host and chef, Sheena Amario. I had mentioned earlier, if you had missed out, I'm going to be preparing a chapati wrap, and it's not just any chapati wrap. I'm calling it an Indian chapati wrap just because I'm adding some extra flair to it. So for those who might have missed out, we have a couple of ingredients here. So we're just going to start off our chapati, and for that we're going to start with our flour. And our flour is already pre-measured out, and the thing I like doing at home, if you're at home, don't worry so much about using a scale. Just get a regular cup, any cup you have, and then use that as your standard measurement. So for me, this cup is about 200 grams. So if you're at home, again, don't worry so much about the measurements. Just get the cup you have and then take it from there. And then for the vegetables that you see here, these are going to go inside our wrap. So first we have to start with the chapati. So for the chapati, we're going to start with the flour. And then I usually just like to beat this up. If you've got a whisk, great. If you don't have one, this basically just creates some air and basically removes any lumps that are inside the flour. That's all it does. So you just beat this up lightly. And then we're going to add now our salt and a bit of sugar. So this is just a pinch. Not so much. It's about 2 pinches. And then the sugar. The sugar is just to balance out, to add some sweetness. So basically, you want your chapatis, it basically just normally balances out the sugar and the salt. So your chapatis are not so sweet and they're not so salty, so it's just in between, and the flavors will come out. And then we're going to add, a pinch or a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And then we're going to add some turmeric, and the turmeric is just for the color. So a little goes a long way. If you haven't used turmeric before at home, just know a little goes a long way. So you just want also about a 1/4 teaspoon. And it's going to give this light yellow color, so I'm not going overboard with it. And then these other ingredients, are going to use this now in our salad dressing and also for the eggs. So for here, that's all I'm putting. So we've just added some flour, some sugar, some salt, some turmeric, and some cumin. And then just mix your ingredients up. And then now we're going to add our water. And then when you're making chapati at home, it's always best to start off with some lukewarm water. Basically, that just because that is going to start activating the gluten inside the flour. So what I like to do is just create a well in the center, and then now I pour in my flour from that point and then mix everything up from there. And of course, it doesn't have to be a perfect well, just something rough. And then start off with a bit of water and then approximate. Then I'm going to start whisking this together as I go. And I'm watching my dough, so I'm looking for my dough to come together. And once it comes to that, the holes, then it's ready for me to start rolling. Basically, this is just an easier way for you to start off other than starting getting all messy. I mean, I'm going to get there anyway, but still. So once your dough starts coming together, as you can see, then now it's time for you to get your hands dirty. Like I said, it's going to happen anyway. And then the flour I'm using, this is my extra flour, basically to just help me dust off as I go along. And that's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to use the extra flour as I go to bring my dough together. And usually if you mix your dough right for chapati, it doesn't have to take so long for making your chapos at home. It can be a short process or a very long one. So once your dough comes together, for me I feel this is too soft, so I'm going to add a bit of flour. But not too much, just a little bit. And then to this dough I'm also going to add some oil, and usually this is the stage I like adding my oil, when my dough has come together, just because I find it easier to knead that way compared to adding the oil at the beginning. Then I'm going to get our oil, then drizzle just a little bit, not too much, and then continue with the kneading. And my dough is looking really nice right now. It's nice and pliable. So basically, once your dough comes together to this point, to the point whereby it's released itself from the bowl you're mixing it in, it's now time to set it aside. You can tell your dough, because it's going to be nice and stretchy. Then now you can just put it aside to rest, just briefly for about 10 minutes or so. It doesn't have to be a long time. Before we can now proceed to make the wraps. And then something else I like to do is just add a bit of oil in my container, just a little bit. And then I'll put my dough to rest. Then I'm going to wrap it with some cling film. If you don't have cling film at home, you can just use a tablecloth. And like I've said, this is just going to rest my dough. If you don't have some cling film, like I mentioned, don't worry about it. You could just use a tablecloth. You could just use a tablecloth, any tablecloth, and then just put it on top of your dough. And also, just to mention for the viewers at home, the reason I like to put a cloth underneath my board is so that your board doesn't move so much when you're cooking, especially if you have a board that's not even. If you add a cloth or like a spontex, anything like that, it's going to give it a good stability, and it's not going to move around so much when you're cooking or chopping your ingredients. So after your dough has rested for about 10 minutes, I'm going to start dusting off our board and then get our dough. It should be nice and soft by now. I'm just going to cut off some little balls, roll them up with your hands, and then keep the other dough covered as you continue. Roll it out, then press it flat. And look how pretty it looks. The color, it's so cute. Okay. So now you can get your rolling pin and just dust it with some flour, just a little bit, not too much, and then roll your dough. So this is really, really soft. And if your chapati is not perfectly round, don't worry about it. So if your dough is not perfectly round, clearly I'm not the perfect person for my chapatis. Just get a bowl, don't have a heart attack about it, just get a bowl and then place it inside, and then basically just make a circle, which is just going to give you some nice, beautiful cut. And then you take this out. Then this you're going to now make into another chapati. So just make this back into a dough, and then place it in here with the rest of your mixture. And there. You now have a nice wrap. Once your pan is hot, and if you're not sure how to tell a pan is hot, you can feel with your hand because the heat is there, or Something else you could do is just get a bit of water, and then you see that sizzling, it disappears right away. So that means your pan is very hot at this stage of time. And then it's always a good practice to make sure your pan is clean and dry on the inside. So I like to wipe it with a paper towel just to make sure. So add your wrap. And all you're doing is just letting it brown on both sides. Then I'm going to take it off. So as your chapati is going on, you could make another ball, but just remember to keep an eye on it. Yes. Then turn it. Then dust your flat area again, in this case, which is my board. Then I'm going to flatten this and then roll it out again. Okay, so that is ready. Put off your heat and then put it aside. And then put your chapati and then wrap it. That way it's going to stay soft because we're not using it at this particular instant. And you're going to let it cool a bit, so when you add the rest of your mixture, it doesn't all cook down, since you're going to add our vegetables when they're still raw. So I'm just going to beat in 2 eggs. And then a tip for you guys at home, always beat your eggs on a flat surface and not on something sharp like a knife or a fork. Just because the shells tend to get inside, when you do it on a flat surface, it doesn't break on the inside. For the eggs, I'm just going to add some salt, some black pepper, and the same mixture that I added into the wrap, which is some cumin, as well as some turmeric for the color, just a little bit. Just a little turmeric. And of course, some salt. And then if you're at home and you like chili, like fresh chili, you can definitely add some. Don't be afraid to add some. So just go right ahead and do that. And then whisk your mixture up together once you've added all your spices. So you basically want to whisk your mixture until everything is well incorporated. As a rule of thumb, I'd advise you to use a non-stick pan because one, you use way less oil, and because your eggs won't stick on the pan. So that's like a good tip for you at home. So once your heat is on, just reduce it to a bit on the lower side. You don't want your heat very high. There you go. And then add some oil. So we're going to add some oil into our pan. Not too much oil. Then we're going to add our mixture. I like to swirl my oil around the pan just to make sure that the oil goes all over the pan. So add your eggs. And then simply scramble them. And for this, you don't want like a very neat scramble because I'm just going to put this into the wrap like I mentioned. So I mainly want my eggs to just come together. And you can see the light yellow color, that's from the turmeric. Personally, I don't like my eggs like very well done or very well cooked. So to me, that's like a perfectly cooked scramble with the ribbons. And also remember, if you're at home, the pan is always hot, so the heat is still going to keep cooking your eggs. So if you like your eggs even less done than mine, then by all means put off the heat a little sooner. And then now you can proceed to cut your vegetables. And then just cut this to how you'd like to make your wrap. So for me, I'm just going to cut them into slices. And I'm still going to leave the mixtures inside. But if you'd prefer not to have the mixture inside, all you'll have to do is just split it out that way. And then just slice it whichever way you'd like. There you go. So it's all up to you. So since I'm not going to waste, I'm going to use both options. And then get some lettuce, which is just a little, not too much. And of course your onion. And if your chopping technique is not as fast as mine, don't worry, just chop it how you will at home. And so that's it. That's all I'm going to use to wrap our chapati. So if you're at home and you want to use something else, mushrooms, spinach, don't be afraid. Just use whatever vegetables you have. You don't have to not make this recipe just because you don't have the ingredients I'm using. So then now get your chapati. Okay, and then you're going to divide your mixture into two because we have two wraps. And then not too much, just a little bit. Then you get your tomatoes. You can mix them all up. Your onions. And of course some lettuce. Now you could go ahead and wrap your chapati wrap as is, but a tip for you guys at home, you could add a bit of mayonnaise if you wanted to, but it's not always a must. So it's just a little extra something that I'm adding, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. And also by adding the mayonnaise, this will ensure that the wrap is able to hold itself when you wrap it as well. But if you don't take mayonnaise, then you could use a bit of oil, a bit of mustard. So go ahead and wrap your chapati. Yes, my mixture is a bit too much. Just dump out whatever is too much. And then roll that in. And there you go. And then always place the bottom side down. And we're just going to put this one aside as we roll the other one up. So the same thing you did, add your mixtures, a bit of your egg. Now if you're not vegetarian at home and you wanted to add some meat into this, some chicken, some beef, you could definitely go ahead and do that. But I'm keeping this vegetarian. And this is the nice option for lunch. So you'll just carry this to lunch at work. Or you could even decide to make this and have it for breakfast or dinner. But it's a good alternative for lunch. And then like I mentioned, add a bit of mayonnaise if you want to. You don't have to. And then go ahead and make the wrap. Then fold the sides like I'm doing, and then proceed. Place it on the bottom side. I'm going to slice this into half. So we're just going to cut it diagonally so that you can see what's inside. See that? So for the plate, I'm just going to plate this with some salad. And then we're just going to place this on top of the salad, around the salad. There you go. So like I mentioned, this is a really simple dish to make. So all I've added in here is the salad, as you've seen, which is just the lettuce, the tomatoes, the onions, and of course your wrap, your chapati wrap. And now if you are eating this at home, obviously you would take it with you, pack it in a lunchbox if you wanted to, or you could go the extra mile and pack your vegetables separately and pack your chapati wrap separately and then roll it up when you're at work. It's up to you. It doesn't have to be done all in one go, but you can decide what to do with it.